A Plagued Journey by Maya Angelou. There is no warning rattle at the door, nor heavy feet to stomp the foyer boards. Safe in the dark prison, I know that light slides over the fingered work of a toothless woman in Pakistan. Happy prints of an invisible time are illumined. My mouth agape rejects the solid air and lungs hold. The invader takes direction and seeps through the plaster walls. It is at my chamber. Entering the keyhole, pushing through the padding of the door, I cannot scream. A bone of fear clogs my throat. It is upon me. It is sunrise, with hope, its arrogant rider. My mind, formerly quiescent in its snug encasement, is strained to look upon the rapturous visages, to let them enter even into me. I am forced outside myself to mount the light and ride joined with hope. Through all the bright hours, I cling to expectation until darkness comes to reclaim me as its own. Hope fades. Day is gone into its irredeemable place, and I am thrown back into the familiar bonds of disconsolation. Gloom crawls around, lapping lasciviously between my toes, at my ankles, and it sucks the strands of my hair. It forgives my heady fling with hope. I am joined again into its greedy arms. I love that Angelou characterizes hope as this plague, this greedy, unforgiving, arrogant thing that clings onto us even when we don't want it to. This is so powerful because for a while I had started to see hope as a nuisance, a negative thing that only the privileged use to their own advantage, dressed in shallow, disembodied language and promises. Oh, just have hope, they say. I was so tired to see hope used this way that it actually led me to embrace something that makes a lot of Christians uncomfortable, and that's a theology of hopelessness. In his book, Embracing Hopelessness, Latinx scholar Miguel de la Torre argues that hopelessness frees us to imagine creative ways to struggle for justice. And this is true throughout Scripture, whether it's the story of Tamar, who in her desperation poses as a prostitute in order to secure her future, or the Israelites who, because of their hopelessness, held as slaves in bondage, were led to the wilderness. Oftentimes when people are hopeless, forced into desperation, they will do whatever it takes to liberate themselves from their current situation. When threats of a loss of political freedom plagued my abuelo, my grandfather in Cuba, desperation led him and 7 others to board a small lancha, or a small boat, in the middle of the night with hopes of arriving to the Miami shore. Hopelessness embraces the current reality, and for many, it can enact courage, serving as an impulse for perseverance. As De La Torre says, we embrace hopelessness when we embrace the sufferers of the world. And in embracing them, we discover our own humanity and salvation, providing impetus to our praxis. For, as he says, hopelessness is the precursor to resistance and revolution. And I just love that last phrase because it's how I'm learning to hold hope and hopelessness in tension. That hopelessness serves as a precursor to revolution, and it is in revolution and resistance that hope can be found, right? Where it can be born, where it can be embodied. As I read more of Scripture in relation to hope, I think about how biblical hope looks backwards in order to look forward. It's clothed in the invitation to remember. Remember the hopelessness. Remember the wilderness. Remember how I was there, says God. Divine hope isn't shallow or disembodied. I'm learning that divine hope doesn't ignore or forget the past. Instead, it's conceived in the real, in the raw, in the wilderness is where it takes root. And so I echo the words of Anne Lamott where she says, hope begins in the dark. the stubborn hope, right? Like Angelou characterizes that stubborn hope that if you just show up and try to do the right thing, the dawn will come. We wait and we watch and we work and we don't give up.